this show definitely happened. I have a feeling you are going to be more down on it than I was. That is
Bro,
my
I
that is
just
my prediction.
I just don't care.
You didn't
And
care
I've been
much.
conditioned against this style of wrestling now.
And we took a while to get around to full disclosure, the Priest Gunther match and the men's war games.
The Priest Gunther match I probably cared about the least, maybe.
Yeah.
Just because they've done a horrible job of building it.
So we'll talk about everything a little bit. My notes are not as detailed as normal. I don't think. Actually, maybe the main event I wrote down a lot just because there was a very lengthy match. But the first thing, do you have any thoughts on the aesthetics of the layout? Other than the only note I made was there's a lot of logos on the mat.
So many logos on the mat.
Both
It's
mats,
so
I guess. The
gross.
mats.
It's so gross.
Like
I hate
you would
it.
think that this is the prime wrestling federation, right?
Yeah, there's Prime. There's the True Classic, which is those plain shirts that they advertised later with the Alpha Academy. I think Diablo something was one of the games. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just annoying and it's an eyesore. I don't love it.
Me
And then
either.
it was just one of those smaller stages that they tend to do in the bigger venues
Mhm.
to maximize crowds. So it was alright, I guess. It looked very similar to last year's Survivor Series.
Yeah. It was nothing spectacular, I didn't think. So we start out with the women's War Games match. We're going to bookend the show with the War Games, starting with the women. So that's Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, Naomi Bailey, Io Sky against Liv Morgan, Nia Jax, Tiffany Stratton, Raquel Rodriguez, and Candice LeRae. So no problem with them starting this match first. Bit of a problem in the moment and in retrospect with who they put in first, right? So they made the choice to put Nia Jax in first
And Bailey.
and Bailey.
Which Bailey's fine, but they didn't really have great matches together
No,
previously, and then Nia Jax was also just bad.
Nia got exposed here, I think. It kind of
As
set
if
this
it
match in
needed.
set it off in a poorer direction.
People have been praising her too, and maybe some of her character works better. I don't know, but like in ring, she's never been good, and anyone who thinks she is doesn't like wrestling.
Doesn't like wrestling. She was not impressive here. So, and another thing that kind of grated on me is every time someone new enters, they dig under the ring looking for some sort
Especially
of.
in this match, I feel like in the men's they did a better job of like spacing it out.
Yeah,
But
it was everyone. It was kind of like that's what you have to do when you come in. I thought it was interesting. Io this year had a. Was it? Did you say she had it before a custom garbage can with with straps so she could carry it,
yeah,
and then
she's had that before.
and then she climbs up and there's a platform for her to stand on.
They've done that, I think, the last year or two, where they have like designated diving platforms. Yeah.
So this is her spot, and it feels like they'll forever find a way to put her in a war game so she can do this spot, which she did. The what is it? Trash can moonsault at some point. Nia Jax executes some of the worst chair shots since Hogan.
Since Hogan, yeah, it's like really like it's like she had a chair shot accident once, and she's just like traumatized at the thought of hurting someone again.
It's like the other person had a raw egg on their back, and she
And
was
she
instructed,
didn't want to break
you
it.
cannot
Yeah.
break that egg or you're fired.
Yeah.
And to be fair, I didn't make note of who, but I said she wasn't the only one who struggled with some chair shots. And I said, it kind of takes you right out of it, right?
Yeah.
This big, violent match, multi-person, locked
Big
in a
violent
cage
woman even.
with weapons, and it's like the most gentle chair shots you can imagine.
Yeah, it was so. But there was the one time where like Naomi was moving, she was like struggling where to hit her, and it was just
It was rough.
I don't know what they were doing.
And then us like stretches of nothing happening, and then when things are happening, there's a bunch of sloppiness along the way.
Yeah.
So and this is one of my annoyances. Before the match even begins, I thought that stretch was pretty rough.
It was really bad. Yeah.
And so why I say it like that is because WWE keeps saying like the match doesn't start until everybody's entered the cage. No, it starts when it starts.
It can't end.
Right.
Those are different things.
It can't end until everyone's in there.
Yeah.
It has already started.
By definition, those are different things.
And when you include the running time of the match, you're not just going to cut off the first 20 minutes or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Anyways, it's one of my pet peeves. So Io and Stratton tried to time the leap off the top, right? Everyone else kind of has to wait in position, and it's a mixture of people. So the spot looked good, and I thought it kind of picked up from there. But
doing a moonsault in a trash can is impressive.
and yes, it is. A lot of people having to wait underneath, but you can forgive it because it does look cool by the end. Stratton grabs the Money in the Bank case, right, from a trash can or something,
Yeah, I don't know why she didn't just have it with her.
right when both champions are down. So
Which because they've teased numerous times that she's gonna cash in on Nia.
how would
like,
she cash in here?
I don't know. Remember they tried to run the spot with Priest last year too. Priest tried to cash in on Rollins, but then Orton returned.
Can she cash in here? And if she does, what does that look like?
I don't think there's anything technically speaking against it, but for me, I think logistically no, because I think catching a mid match is fine. Rollins did that before. McIntyre did that this year,
But
right?
does that make it a singles match within the...
That's why I'm saying you shouldn't be able to do it here. I think if you're cashing in during a singles title match, or actually
Sure.
any match for the title you're cashing in on, I think that's fair game. Like, let's say it's even, it would be
There
stupid,
you go.
an elimination chamber match for the
Right.
title. I think, would it be dumb to cash in then? Yes, but could you? I think so. I would even go as
I'd
far
like
to
that.
say, let's say Liv Morgan's having a non-title match against someone in a singles match. You wanted, for some reason, to cash in mid-match and make that a triple threat title match, thus giving the other person a title match too. Stupid, but also I think fair, because it doesn't really change the logistics or anything of the match itself. Like, this
Mhm.
is a big team versus team match. Like, you're not going to cash in during a Survivor Series elimination match, right?
Or cash in after a match has ended.
That also makes more sense just in general, but
You can't...
to cash in mid-match, I think it should be already something where making it a title match doesn't change the match.
Right. Because I was wondering, like,
Drastically.
what if the ref takes that case? Like, what is this going to look
That's
like?
what I'm saying. They tried to do that with Priest last year, and then that was the match where Orton returned, right?
Yeah.
And so I just think, yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
No.
I get why they're doing that, but it doesn't make sense to me.
Handcuffs get introduced by somebody. EO ends up blasting a fire extinguisher. And I thought that was kind of cool. When the smoke clears, right, Rodriguez is handcuffed to the ropes, and you don't really see how or why, because there was the fire
So you're trying to
extinguisher.
cuff Ripley, right?
Final couple minutes, I think, are a lot better in this. The finish sees an avalanche riptide from Ripley to Liv through a table. That spot looked really good.
That one was nice, yeah.
And the baby faces win after 38 minutes. All things considered,
Not good.
talent involved,
Bad.
stakes, whatever, placement on the show, all of those things, I thought this was really bad.
Yeah. Cage match gives it 4.9. And
I
then
went
Meltzer
over.
gives it 3.
Oh, no, sorry, 4.9? I went under.
I'm gonna give it 2.
I gave it 2 stars as well. I think, like, again, with all those things considered, we have a late entrant for worst women's match of the year.
I agree, and I think it might be my pick just because, well, obviously, we were talking about this too, and I think, again, this is a point I'll most definitely bring up when we actually do our picks for the year-end stuff, but
Yeah.
the magnitude of the match, the stage of the match, the talent involved have to be considered. While I think the actual in-ring quality of Rizzo and Lyons is technically worse, probably.
It was like 4 or 5 minutes.
It's 4 minutes. It's on NXT TV, and it's two people who I didn't expect anything good from.
It's mid-carders on their third show.
Yeah,
It's
and
not,
I think Rizzo especially is still learning.
It's not a whole bunch of main event talents
Right, like
and champions.
for example, Bailey I think is really good. Belair's really good. Io's really good. Naomi's fine.
Io's amazing.
And Ripley's really good too. And then on the heel side, I think LeRae's always been really good. Morgan's fine. Nia Jax is not great, so I didn't
True.
expect much from her. I think Raquel's pretty cool, and I think Stratton's great as well. So I think majority you have some really good talent here, and it was still a really bad match.
It was. I
Remember
thought,
there was that one, I don't know if you talked about the stink face spot with the toilet seat.
oh my God, I didn't mention the toilet seat at all.
I don't know why that was there.
Yeah. Although one of the shots with it looked pretty good.
Yeah. But yeah, this was just sloppy and a lot of botches or things that just didn't look good, even in execution. Remember, there was the moonsault on the chairs to, was it to Bailey? And like
I think
they
so.
were just they kept talking about how it affected Bailey through the whole match.
Yes.
How devastating it was, even though it looked like garbage.
Yes.
Like it was just not good on the whole, and especially given all the talent involved, it was pretty disappointing. It was like almost 40 minutes.
It
and
was.
I'd say the majority of it was bad.
Like, Nia starting out was rough.
That's just a horrible choice.
Terrible use of weapons. Lots of, like, I would call it confusion. Stretches of, like, not much happening. Tables
I
getting
wonder-
dragged out and just left on the floor
Yeah,
at one point.
didn't Raquel leave one there? Yeah.
I thought it was a bit of a hot mess until, like,
Chelsea
I would say
Green.
2/3, 3/4 of it.
Speaking of hot mess, the one thing I did find funny was that in the one promo for the U.S. title tournament, Chelsea Green said she'd make it red, white, and green. I thought that was pretty funny.
That's funny.
But I wonder, and this sounds mean, but I'm being dead serious. If they started Nia because they're gonna have 4 people in that cage and they didn't want her to be one of them,
I guess.
like that sounds bad. But otherwise I don't know why you would start her.
I think they thought, hey, let's dispel the rumors and myth that she can't But she can't.
She can't.
Like, this is just further evidence now,
I just
right?
don't think she's ever been able to.
And the build to this felt kind of random and rushed.
It wasn't really a build. It was just poor. Like, I think they went about this all wrong, and I think it was partially because Ripley got injured, so maybe that changed plans.
For sure.
I think if they had structured this as Team Ripley versus Team Morgan, which they haven't really, then it would be different. Because I think that's what they did most of the time in War Games in NXT, was that it would be like you're captaining a Survivor Series team, but it just happens to be in War Games. And that would work a little better, because it's like, a feud, but then you're just drafting in other people, and that's okay. But this, it felt like just conglomeration against conglomeration.
What if, I know they're trying to keep things completely equal and whatever. What if in this case, the men's is a War Games and the women's is a traditional Survivor Series match?
I think that'd be
and the
totally
pay-per-view
okay.
is called Survivor Series War Games. You have one of each.
I think that'd be totally fine.
And maybe next year, it's determined by whichever
the magnitude
group
of your feuds.
Correct.
Yeah, because I think Bloodline
was
absolutely
fine.
warrants War Games.
Yes.
I don't think it warranted being a 5-on-5 War Games,
Right.
but it still warranted being a War Games.
And the women's was like, oh my God, we're in a race to get 5 women stapled together for this, right?
So this wasn't good.
No.
Really poor start.
Yep, 2 stars I gave that match. So then we move into United States Championship match. It's LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura. How were our picks for the women's?
I know I picked it. I don't know about you. So
I don't remember either.
I'll look that up.
So Shinsuke, my first look at his new look and entrance, and
this was different from what I saw on
already
SmackDown
a different
before.
theme, right?
The theme he had on SmackDown was definitely more a remix of his original theme song, which is peak musical production, by the way. Like Shinsuke's original theme, you know it.
And even
that's
when
one of the best themes ever created.
And when the live versions are
that
amazing
was
too.
Sick. I remember the one entrance with the violin dude. That one was killer. Or even the guitar lady at Mania.
Amazing.
But anyways, it was something of a remix of that. You could definitely tell it was more of the violin.
Right.
So this one was like, you could still hear feints of like that usual melody or rhythm, whatever you call it, from his original theme, but it was definitely more samurai inspired, as was his entrance. But I thought it was really cool. Like, it just feels like they're actually putting effort into his presentation. And I definitely value that. I was worth noting on SmackDown last night, though. He was I saw someone said, quote, inking like a squid.
Yeah, he was. I watched the clip on SmackDown. But he just, I don't know, he always has that ability to be kind of strange and out there. So
he's got that weird charisma.
I'm into this look and this character that he's doing so far.
Yeah. I don't mind like an evil Shinsuke.
I assumed that he wasn't winning here, so I was kind of annoyed by the presentation, and I'm like, so I know
you were saying that, and I thought I didn't pick him. I thought there was no shot he was winning here.
And it's annoying because I was like, oh man, he kind of looks cool, and he's been repackaged, and he's just gonna lose in a PLE.
Yeah, we both picked the women's one.
And then we both didn't pick this one, I guess.
Yeah. Well, because like this was a short build, and it's Nakamura. They never do anything with him.
And the story of this was that Knight is off his game because Shinsuke has gotten into his head with his new persona.
Well, and because he missed him.
Right.
Which, in AEW, Black Mist has a wide variety of consequences. It can blind you, it can make you join them, make you fight them.
It depends on the concentration, I think. So he diluted his.
Yeah.
Fairly.
Just to like give him a migraine, maybe.
Right, exactly. It was mostly Nakamura in
Will
this.
Washington needs to get on the Black Mist lore.
Knight got in a DDT, a burning hammer, top rope elbow drop.
Burning hammer was cool.
Knight sets up for the BFT. Nakamura escapes to the area in between the two rings, thumbs Knight in the eye, and hits a reverse DDT, which is a pretty good spot. Simple, but like effective because it's that metal.
And it's actually making use of the double rings, which they never do in regular matches.
Because there's like a metal strip connecting the two rings, and
like diamond plated.
Right,
like the
steps.
Yeah.
Drops him on the back of his head there, which was cool. Back into the ring, immediate Kinshasa, and Nakamura, obviously surprising to us.
Yeah, it was very surprising.
Didn't even touch 10 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 9 minutes. I thought the match was okay.
Same.
Like, I'd probably give it 3, maybe.
I went 2 3/4.
Yeah, like, that's
It
fair.
felt like it's like a TV title change.
You're on par with Meltzer, and then 5.75 for cage match.
So I'm pretty consistently around there.
But I thought it was solid. It was a little slow, but I'm more so just happy with Nakamura 1. Like, good for him. Puts something in the new character. I'm just astonished and maybe that's a testament to Knight's losing it a bit. Like, I think in terms
I
of
think what's the bloom is off the
popularity,
rose a little bit there.
I think it might be, yeah. So
'Cause
I'm very surprised Nakamura won. I'm like, again, I'm happy for him because I think Nakamura is great, and he's never got that's a guy who never got his due. We were talking about Penta, but I think Nakamura's never gotten his due since NXT, really.
and with Knight, he's a great fit for WWE, but I think if he's not in the ring with someone who can really, I don't carry him's not the right word. You know what I mean? He's
But,
not
like,
that bad.
lift him up.
Right. That to pull something extra out of him or to call the match or whatever the right thing is, like he's not great.
Yeah, he's no ring
He needs a
general.
great opponent.
And I also think that, like I said this already, they waited a year too long to give him the
They
U.S.
did.
title.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was ever going to get the main title because the plan was very clear. It was Roman to Cody.
Yeah.
And that was always going to be the case. But I think they waited too long to give him the U.S. title. I don't think we ever needed to put it on Logan Paul. I don't think that did anything for WWE and
Because
didn't do
he
anything
wasn't
for
around
Will.
often.
Right, like he had like a 200-something day reign. And
He's
he
like on
only
a
defended it,
Lesnar
like 3
schedule.
times, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I think Knight could have been the one to beat Theory because no one needed that rub. It was Rey Mysterio, and he didn't need that. And then maybe Knight could have dropped it to Logan Paul at the Rumble and then won it back at Mania. I feel like that would be a decent path to follow. But I think waiting because like Knight was hot last year, right? Really hot last year.
Yes, he was.
And the thing they gave him was winning that Slim Jim Battle Royal
Right.
at last year's SummerSlam. That's when
feather in
he
your
should have
cap.
won the U.S. title from Theory. Because Theory was like, no one cared about it.
Nobody.
No one cared about his reign. People were panning
Well,
him. if
especially
anything.
once John Cena told us all, like, right? Like,
Well, and
this
then he
kid
beat,
sucks.
He beat Cena, and
I
he didn't
know.
even get a rub from that.
I know.
But that was like last year's SummerSlam. Knight only won the title at this year's SummerSlam. That's the epitome of waiting too long for me.
It
It's
was.
basically like TNA with Joe Hendry right now.
Yes.
They're missing the mark. And it's not even like,
I think it's because they know he's gone.
I think so, but I feel like they should, even still, they should be capitalizing on that. Like, get whatever they can from that.
True. You can't be that petty, right? You need the attention he would get, too.
Regardless,
Helps both of you,
they
not
need
just
that
him.
attention for sure.
I agree.
And for me with TNA, this is a bit of digression, but still, I was just saying with Knight, he was never gonna get, like, as over as he wasn't gonna be the one to beat Roman.
No.
But Nemeth is not Roman.
No.
Nemeth is not their Roman. It's not even like, to draw
Not
a
even
TNA
at all.
example, if it was Josh Alexander's, remember, because he had the longest
Yeah.
title run, right? And then obviously he vacated. But Nemeth's not even on a run like that. So I'm
No.
not even saying like star power, but lengthwise, Nemeth is not a Roman. He's not a Josh Alexander. He's not a Bobby Roode, right? He had a long run, I think.
He did.
So really them preserving him, or even preserving Moose, because Hendry was getting hot while Moose was still at the champion,
Yes.
right? It's really not worth it.
I
don't understand. And now they have AJ Francis challenging for their world
That
title,
is-
which is absolutely absurd to me to ever do,
Now,
unless you're an indie.
I haven't watched TNA in months, so maybe he's becoming a ring general.
Dude, that's like saying, oh, Nia Jax is great. Let's have her start our War Games match.
Right. Well, I mean, there's precedent that has
Yeah.
happened. So, but yes, really happy for Shinsuke. New character, new look, kind of cool. So, I'm all for let's give him a mid
I
card
agree.
title and see what happens.
I think so. It's more interesting than Logan Paul or LA Knight. So
Yep. Then we get the Intercontinental Championship triple threat. Braun Breaker defending against Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser. This was the match I was looking forward to the most on the show.
I agree.
I really like Breaker and Kaiser. I think these are
And Sheamus is good. He deserves some
Sheamus
respect,
right
too.
now is really good, and the fans are still like they now like him as like the veteran underdog trying to get that last credential.
I think ever since that first match with Gunther, people have really
Yeah.
started to give him his
Yes.
flowers, because I think he is good.
He's
It's
an
just,
awesome
He was
hoss.
just always, I don't know, maybe he just never got noticed, or people just never really liked him.
For
that
me,
much,
there
but
was too much of him at the like world title level constantly. and
he
it
got
just
thrusted there
sorta-
really quick,
Yeah.
way too quick. I really
and then he
liked
stayed
him.
there a long time.
Yeah, I started to like him once the bar started. The
Yeah,
bar
they were
was
cool.
a good
They
resurgence
were.
for him, and then he had that feud with Jeff Hardy where Jeff Hardy threw piss at him, and they had fought in a bar.
Oh yeah, threw piss at him.
Oh yeah, I
Awesome.
just wanted to remind you of that.
Yeah,
And then he had the U.S. title run where he had the Cody mask on him,
yeah.
and the Brawling Brutes. Obviously, he introduced us to Butch. Thank you.
One of his superpowers, Sheamus, that is his pale skin shows off the welts and scrapes and bruises.
Oh, yeah.
Like everything is just magnified on him,
Yeah,
and he takes a beating. That guy.
yeah, especially against Gunther. He
So-
needs to challenge Gunther for the world title. I know his thing is winning this one title he's never won, but
Yeah,
I just want him to fight Gunther for a main title.
that would be a
Do that
slugfest.
for the Rumble, maybe.
He could. We get an early rope running clothesline by Breaker to Kaiser to showcase Breaker's crazy speed. And then remember they're out on the floor and Braun just kind of flies out of nowhere with a shoulder tackle.
Yeah.
It looked kind of cool. He misses a spear, runs into a chair in the corner. Sheamus follows up with a brogue kick. Kaiser pulls the ref out at the last second. Amazing near fall.
Great
the crowd
heel
is
work
furious.
for Kaiser too.
He's an awesome heel. Vicious
He
Kaiser
just
attack.
looks so smug. He looks punchable.
Always. You just
so
want-
punchable.
Like he's one of those like can't see him as a baby face.
No.
No matter what.
No.
Sorry, I'm gonna cough.
It's kind of like Miz. Miz is very punchable.
And
I don't think he's as
even-
good of a wrestler, but and yet that hasn't stopped them from doing babyface Miz a lot.
Remember, we saw a house show in Peterborough.
And even then, back then, people hated him.
He got Marcel Bartel, who was just this scrawny guy facing Ricochet.
No, it was Killian Dane.
Oh
He
yeah,
got pasted
and the
by him.
crowd hated him.
I don't remember
And they
some.
had
I
no
don't remember
idea.
the chant specifically, but there were some funny ones.
Something of like, you won't forget the name, and the guy was like, I forgot already, or
Yeah.
something, right?
And it was something about hockey too, I think. 'Cause obviously
There
he was
was.
in Canada, but it was really funny. Like back then, even he would get some pretty good heat.
Just
And I didn't even know
instinctively
who-
hate him.
Yeah, I didn't even know who he was back then, and now he's like, obviously a lot bigger stage, and he's ripped. He wasn't that ripped back
No.
then.
And now
he's like
he-
shredded.
He beats the hell out of Sheamus with the shillelagh, right?
Oh
and
yeah.
leaves marks all over him. But Sheamus hits his kneecap thing that looks pretty good for
Basically
a near
like
fall.
V trigger esque.
Kaiser DDTs Sheamus, Braun spears.
It's like a STODT, so it's like if you're going for a Blade Runner, but then you just kind of switch into a DDT instead.
yeah.
I like that.
It's
That's
cool.
It's so funny because that's the finisher I'd given my creator wrestler for like years.
Nice.
So I had it first.
He's stealing from you. Breaker spears Kaiser, then spears Sheamus.
He like
And he
jumped
retains.
over Sheamus' body though to spear
Yeah.
Kaiser. Like it
It
was
was
pretty
cool.
awesome.
14 and a half minutes. This was my favorite match on the show.
Far and away the best match, and I think it was always gonna be. Breaker's fantastic now.
He is. Him and
He's
Kaiser are the
impressive.
future, man.
Kaiser's really cool. I think Kaiser, while not accomplishing a lot this year, has really shown some high potential.
He's posed to be a breakout star for next year, I think. Like
Yeah.
he's starting that arc now, I feel
agree.
like.
I agree.
Excellent intensity.
I think he's like a Fletcher. He's half of a European tag team, and he's
Right.
just starting to find his.
That's right.
He's getting in better shape,
Yep.
and he's starting to find his footing as a solo guy.
And his heel work is awesome.
Yeah.
The crowd really wanted Sheamus to win, so I think that
I think
helped
that's a good.
too.
I think what you do is.
Great near fall.
I think there were some good near falls, and Kaiser playing heel for that was awesome as well. I would love it if. I want Sheamus to face Gunther, so maybe we do that at the Rumble, and you could do like a month or long program or something like
Mhm.
that. And then I think we give Sheamus his title win for the Intercontinental title, not against Gunther, at Mania. I think
Yeah.
that'd be cool.
I'd be on board for
I
that.
do think we should give Sheamus that moment at some point. I think it'll be such a cool moment, and I think it would be really cool to make the Intercontinental title feel important because it's like that white whale for him, and
It is.
it'll make that belt feel like something.
And the
too.
people are ready for him to have it, and it'll get a great reaction.
I agree, and I think he could do like the Cena Open Challenge with that
Mhm.
belt though, because I
Yep.
think you could do the banger after banger
Yeah.
as an open challenge.
Yep. So the dynamics I liked, we had a like popular baby face, kind of a tweener who the crowd likes, but he works heel.
Yeah, so Breaker,
then-
I think the tweener status is kind of weird how they're playing it, but it works here
And Kaiser is an awesome heel. So great pace, physicality.
for sure.
Breaker continues to be awesome, and again, Kaiser, it deserves a mid card title in the near future. I think
Absolutely.
too.
I think like I don't know if he's the one to beat Breaker for it. You could do that.
You could. I think as Breaker's on the way to the main event, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Seeing it's down the road a little bit, maybe.
4.25 from Meltzer, and then 8.09 from Cage Match.
So I'm close. I went 4 stars, so I'm a little bit under.
I'll go 3.75.
I thought it
I'm
was
not as on
terrific.
main roster, but I thought it was really good.
And I also thought the fact that they've been in each other's orbit for so long, but this didn't feel stale to me. You know what I mean? Because it's been an ongoing thing with these three. I thought it was really good. Then we move into the World Heavyweight Championship. Gunther defending against Damian Priest. Didn't have a ton of interest in this, mostly because of the build that
I think
they've
the build's
had.
been bad.
Gunther kind of looked like a dork
Yeah,
over
I
and
think,
over again,
like,
which is
I think
so
it definitely
weird.
crossed into the bad territory for me. 'Cause just I get like that they want to make Priest feel like a big deal, and I guarantee he's big for them with the Latin
Sure.
community, all right? Because obviously he was big for the Puerto Rico backlash last
And
year.
he's good. He's
And
perfectly.
he's good, but
He's a B+ player, right?
I mean, yeah, like I liked
is.
him in NXT, but I feel like he has a ceiling, and for me, I don't think it's the main event.
Intercontinental champion, sure.
Yeah, I don't find him that interesting anymore.
He's like 85% of a
I thought he was
megastar.
cool as like the big guy in Judgment Day, but honestly, I don't like. He's not bad on the mic, but I don't know. I've have a struggle getting what his personality really
I
is,
know.
and like I just don't.
That's the missing piece.
I don't buy him as a champion, and I don't buy him as someone who can beat Gunther, and
No.
more importantly, as someone who Gunther should be afraid of.
Yep.
And so again, I get why they want to put stock in a Priest, and I get why they want to make him feel like a big deal,
hmm
and that's okay if you want to try to do that. Even though I don't love him, I can respect trying to make me want to like him, right? But doing that at the expense of someone like Gunther is a huge misstep because Gunther is fantastic.
He
Gunther
is.
is a top guy, and you shouldn't be cheapening him for someone like Priest, who, quite frankly, I don't know if we should be trying anymore. Like, he's already kind of late into his career, and again,
Yeah, he's
mid
not
card
young.
is his ceiling.
Yep. And I think I'm additionally irritated by the fact that this whole Gunther lost his confidence is because of Cody. So that bugs me too,
That
right?
too, it's that, and that I don't think Priest is that interesting. Like, for example,
And it was just the whole like Gunther tries to attack him from behind while he's seated, and Priest still takes him out with a kick to the stomach.
It reminds me of the build with a ego, because he would get bitched
Yeah.
out by Oro Mensah
Right.
week on week on
Right.
week, and it just doesn't make sense to me. And it's
Maybe
just,
they're checking Gunther for range in terms of character. I don't know.
like,
I don't like it.
no, just wait till Dragunov. If Gunther should be afraid
True.
of Dragunov and nobody else,
Yes. There should be subtle vignettes that like tease he's coming
and Gunther
Gunther's
can like live in fear for a bit. Yeah,
Right.
like Dragunov is like Sami Zayn because he beat him,
Mhm.
but insane.
Yeah. Anyways, Priest is in control early here. Gunther takes over, works Priest's arm for quite a while, right? That was one of
That
the
was the main thing.
the main story here. Commentary talk about how Gunther doesn't look like himself early on, and I find it a bit annoying.
I mean, if you put up a picture of Walter, you could say he doesn't look like
He
himself.
definitely does not. They each escape the other's big moves, but Gunther ends up hitting a successful powerbomb for a near fall. We get a Hurricane Rana off the ropes and a Razor's Edge by Priest for 2, which, remember, my instincts were to write down border toss for some reason.
Such an odd.
Shout out to Hernandez. Priest's arm gives out on his 2 South of Heaven attempts. Gunther slaps on a Kimura. Gunther gets shoved off the top. Priest falls to the floor. The fans seem to chant like they thought that was a mistake, that Priest wasn't supposed to do that. But I don't know. Ref tends to Gunther because it set up this finishing angle, right? So it felt pretty on purpose. So as the ref turns his back to Priest on the floor to go talk to Gunther for some reason. So, he did go out to Priest, and Priest said, "Give me a minute." So then he went in to see Gunther. So that, I guess that works. Balor runs in, right? Coup de grace off the steps to Priest. Gunther takes exception
Which
to
Cole
that.
just called the stomp, and I was like,
No.
what?
Gunther then boots Finn out on the floor, climbs back in the ring, powerbomb for Priest, and then it's like an arm choke submission thing that I'm not an MMA guy, don't know what it was, applied. Priest goes out, doesn't tap out, but passes out. After 19 minutes, go ahead and talk because I need to mute and cough for a second.
Yeah, it was fine, I guess. I don't know. I really don't have any strong feelings about it either way.
I liked it more than you. I thought it was good.
I just, again, Priest doesn't interest me. I think, like, he's not a bad wrestler, but he's not the most action-packed dude, and I feel like Gunther's style is good in that way, and Priest is, like, nah in that way. And I don't think it meshes the best just because, like, it wasn't as hard-hitting as the first match, so it doesn't have that
Yeah.
aspect to it. And then I just feel like there wasn't enough, like, the arm targeting was a fine story, but it just didn't feel like it held my attention.
It was not, like, Gunther's never going to have a bad match, I don't think. And I thought Priest sold the arm pretty well and stuff. Like, what were the ratings for this one
I don't know why I just closed it.
before I reveal?
That was dumb on my part, but I can just pull it up right now as I'm not yapping to buy myself time as I scroll back down. And it was 3 3/4 for Meltzer, which I think is too high, and then 6.89 for.
So I'm pretty close. I'm in between those. I went 3.5.
I'm gonna go 3 1/4, I guess. Like I
So-
didn't really love it.
I don't love the story of Gunther's lost confidence, but if that's the story you're telling, I don't think it's a bad idea to have him, because it's interesting, right? Finn comes out to help him, and Gunther doesn't want that, but at the same time, he immediately takes advantage of it.
I don't like the finish because the whole point of this was that he wanted to beat Priest by himself, and they spent this whole time making him look like a chump, and now he doesn't even get that redemption.
And
that
that's
he was
what I'm
supposed to
saying.
have.
They're furthering a story I don't like, but if your decision is to further that story, then it makes sense.
I just think it's dumb because I think, like, Priest is not a guy Gunther should need help with.
I agree.
So I don't like it.
But then it springboards into him facing Balor, which fills a need at main event, etc.,
I
etc.
do like the idea of Gunther and Balor, even if
Yeah,
it's heel and
that
heel.
should be fun.
Balor, I saw something that he's like kind of a locker room leader and that he'll get a push next year. He better, dude.
No, he won't. I don't think he
I
ever
don't think
will.
he will, but I think he should because
I think
Balor's great.
I think he's settled it into his role, basically. You can put him on TV a lot. You can get him to have good matches, but he doesn't need belts and stuff.
Which, as he has a belt.
But yeah, but does he really?
No.
Then the main event, it's the men's war game, the original bloodline. Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, Jimmy Uso, Punk against the new bloodline. Timu bloodline. Sikoa, Tama Tonga, Jacob Fatu, Tongaloa, and Camacho. So Tongaloa is the first one, or sorry, no, Tama Tonga is first, and he has a lot of energy and scales the cage, and
he's really weird.
He is
weird
a strange
now.
one.
He does like the yeah thing.
He'll start out for Timu bloodline, and it's Jey Uso for OG bloodline. Nothing.
A lot of yeeting.
Decent action, nothing really of note for the first 5 minutes. Jay's in control as Bronson Reed enters next for the heels. He grabs like half a dozen chairs and slides them into the ring. So as Reed's entering, right, Jay throws 2 chairs into Reed's face, and then Reed punches the third one away. He takes control as Tama comes to help Reed beat down Jay until Jimmy enters next, all fired up, and he takes over as Jay recovers just in time to join him. We get a nice corkscrew moonsault off the ropes from Jimmy. Jimmy actually can do wrestling moves, so I find it interesting that Jay's the one that is so over because he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, it's just because he started yeeting.
Honestly.
That's what it is.
You should swap them out. Most people won't know, and then Jey Uso will start having better matches if it's Jimmy Uso.
Yeah, he did that off on the press conference after him and Cody won the titles, the tag titles, and then it just became his thing. I think it's because he had the main event Jey Uso run, right, when he faced Roman a bunch of times, and Jimmy, he's got some more to him, and
more than super kicks.
I think they're both just better together, though. I think
I
we
agree.
need to reunite them full time.
The Usos keep control, and Tongaloa teases being next, but Solo, in his infinite wisdom, taps Fatu instead.
Probably the smartest.
And we're like, oh my god, what an upgrade. We went from like
the guy who doesn't do anything good.
The guy I want least to the only reason I really want to watch this match, which is Fatu, and he does not disappoint, man. He no-sells a Samoan drop pretty quickly, nails a spinning elbow that got a good reaction from the crowd. Everything he does, the crowd is kind of still like gasping about.
Yeah, he's like this kind of realistic version of Scary. Like, I believe he's
a
savage.
He is.
But also an intellectual human.
It's like new school savage, right? Yeah. Like he's
not like a savage from the wilderness, like
right.
Umaga.
He's like a city, an urban savage.
Yeah,
if you
like
will.
a guy with a criminal record, and
he's awesome. So he does a handspring kick to somebody between the ropes and the cage.
I think it was Jimmy, and then he moonsaults
straight into a moonsault.
Yeah,
crazy. Roman stops Punk from going next, right? Because there's got to be a ton of tension between these two. I felt like it was almost too much.
Yeah, and it's like
it was the story of this.
Well, and it's because it's just you really have to think: can they coexist?
It almost felt like that was more the story than anything else, though.
Which is weird because it
is, but Punk would be thrilled with that.
So I'd almost think he requested it.
Roman stops Punk from going next. He sends out Sami Zayn instead, and Punk stares down Roman. Sami's on fire until Fatu catches him coming off the ropes, but then Fatu turns into a super kick from Jimmy, and the faces gain control until there's about 20 seconds left in this round. I don't know what you say.
Interval.
There you go. The next entrant is Tongaloa.
And the match still hasn't started, though.
He gets tables from under the ring. Team Bloodline are in control as Fatu sets up a table leaning in the corner.
I was saying to you, it's kind of funny. Wow, I timed me interrupting pretty good.
I'm struggling, man.
I was telling you it's kind of funny that the Bloodline wear black on black here, and then the OG Bloodline wear red. So I was saying like it's like the Team Bloodline got usurped with their own color.
Yes,
so
your color has been usurped. Fatu does a hop-up split-legged moonsault. Like, a lot of his things I put question marks because I'm like, what?
He just does so many of them with just, like, he'll just do it. And if you're there, you better be there, you know?
Like, this sounds stupid, but it's this, I think it's a good term for him. It's like reckless precision, right? Like, it's like
he'll just go and do it, but
he just immediately does it, but it's perfect. There's no, like, he doesn't set up for anything or, like, gesture to the crowd or waste time. It's just, boom, he hits it.
He doesn't even look most of the time when he does a moonsault.
It's amazing. Roman starts to go out next, but Punk just hustles by him to claim the spot.
And I was like...
Roman is displeased.
Roman walks really slow there, so
that's kind of funny. He deserves it.
It's kind of fair game to Punk there.
Punk gets a toolbox from under the ring, takes out 3 guys with
Those
it.
shots look kind of weak too. It's just
Well,
like,
now that you've cut a guy for 10 stitches, you probably err to the side of caution.
but also just
Staples.
why
not
would you
stitches.
swing around a toolbox? Like I was
I know.
saying, you should have opened it and like started dual wielding wrenches. And
There
just
are
gone
better
down.
weapons to bring in.
Just literally weapons in the toolbox. Like I would grab a weapon and or like not a weapon, sorry, like a screwdriver and a hammer maybe.
Yeah.
Or like a wrench and a hammer, and then just like dual wield that shit and go to town.
Yeah.
Like I imagine that being A, cooler, B, more effective.
It's funny how like you could have anything under there, but it's still just chairs and whatever. Like you're in a War Games match. Just pack the
If you're Fatu, why aren't you stabbing everybody?
machine guns and stuff under there. I don't know.
From Motor City?
So Fatu takes a bulldog on the toolbox from Punk and just pops right back up. So hey, WWE tribalists that complain about AEW people kicking out of things, and I love Fatu. It's awesome.
It's
like
still,
I don't want him to change.
It's still no selling though.
It is, of course it is, but it's great. Solo.
And I would argue, again, love Fatu, but in terms of no selling, I'd argue it's infinitely worse because we pointed this out in Ospreay matches, but like Ospreay, like you can tell it's adrenaline flowing because he'll kind of power through something, hit something back, but then they're down.
Yeah.
Fatu, love him, but he's just
not taking it. Solo enters next. He stops to stare down Roman and talk a little trash, and then he slams the cage door on Sammy's head, then Jay's, then Jimmy's. Spinning Solo slam as the new Bloodline are now dominating.
Spinning Solo.
Solo locks the door with a chain and a padlock.
Which I think is such a dumb trope of these heel factions because the match can't start till Roman gets in. I get that it gives them more time to beat up the rest of them, but realistically, Roman does not take that much longer to get in there. He climbs up and like
the commentary are so dumb, right? There's no way to get in.
Right. It's a cage with like I could climb up there.
It's not even like a super high cage. It's like 12 feet in the air.
It's not even like he's scaling Hell in a Cell, which again, still pretty simple, but it also happens, yeah. But it's like, so I just think it's dumb because not only is the benefit you get not much, not only can he still get in, but the match quite literally can't end until he gets in there. So really, why wouldn't you just beat up the guys anyways and just gang up on him when he gets in the door?
Everybody grab a chair for when he walks in and just destroy him.
I think it'd be even easier to like just gang up on him with kendo sticks, and then if you're Fatu, if one breaks, start stabbing him with the broken pieces. But like, and if he comes in the door, his options for attack are infinitely less.
He's got to like bend over through the ropes,
right? Because like he climbs over the cage and he jumps off the top rope, right? But like he could jump off the cage. He could like.
I thought it looked.
He's literally fighting them from sitting on the cage, right? So like,
I thought that was just. I was just gonna say I thought that was silly.
It was.
He's climbing over a cage, like holding on and still fighting off like these guys that we're supposed to believe are incredibly tough.
Right, but then like his options for fighting back are infinitely cut down if he goes through the door. So I think actually locking the door is a stupid idea.
And that we've talked it out. I think
pretty
you might
much
be right.
every regard.
Yep. So Reigns does climb over the top while fighting everyone off, dives onto the group, helps everyone up but Punk. And then Heyman comes down to try and unify Punk and Reigns from the floor. I
thought this was stupid too because like, so then they're all standing up, right? And it's the classic, one team's in one ring, one team's in the other ring. And Heyman's having this whole... I'm giving this whole speech to Punk and Reigns. Meanwhile, the Team of Bloodline are just standing in the other ring, watching this happen. They're not trying to fight, like attack them now. They're not trying to gang up on them while they're distracted. They're just like, oh wait, we gotta wait for the big wide shot.
Guys, Paul's talking.
Guys,
just wait.
Paul's talking. I know we beat him up and we took him out of the group, but we gotta wait for this big 5-on-5 fight, okay?
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
It was so dumb, especially Jacob Fatu. Why would Jacob Fatu ever wait?
Let him repair the rift between our opponents.
Let him make our opponents more unified.
Guys, we want to take them at full strength, okay? So let Paul.
We want the hardest fight possible. Let Paul make them coexist.
That's what we're all about.
We want our opponents to coexist.
The bell rings. The match starts.
The match has started.
So stupid.
It's not like the bell rang before. Tama Tonga and Jey Uso were fighting.
Or there's been timers running in, like, counting down things, like, 5 times. Anyways, they group stare down, then they brawl. Eventually, they kind of spread out. We see an Uso double splash. Roman accidentally spears Punk as Punk was setting somebody up for a GTS. I don't remember who. Samoan spike to Reigns for a near fall. This is where Fatu looks like he was going up for another moonsault. Slipped. Sells the hell out of a knee injury.
I applaud the effort there because it was definitely just a slip up, but
we watched it late, so I knew he wasn't hurt. But in the moment, I would have been like, no.
Well, and because remember he like injured himself splashing Cody, and then he was
Yeah.
walking around with a boot, but still wrestling.
Yes.
Because he's
He's
Jacob Fatu.
crazy.
But just I applaud the effort there, just to
Yep.
kind of cover it up, and it's genius. Because then it's like, I don't know. It was just a really smart cover
was.
to kind of save a botch.
I liked it, and
So
people
I-
thought he was hurt.
Yeah, I respect that.
Roman gets put on a table. Reed climbs up to the top of the cage. Punk pulls Roman off the table at the last second.
And
this
even not
is
seeing the
where,
slow mo, but you can see the way Reed jumps.
Yeah.
He's coming from the cage, and like
his ankle buckles.
his feet are too low. Like he's kind of coming
Too
down
much
like
weight
that,
on his
and
own
then, so
feet.
then his ankle like kind of goes like it was kind of like the issue with the Adam Copeland's dive,
Yeah.
where his just
Plus 250 pounds.
Yeah.
Or whatever it
plus.
is.
Yeah, I actually know it'd be like the same height roughly. Never mind.
Another spike to Roman, but a double super kick to Solo right after. Fatu lies on a table for way too long.
Oh, that made him look
This
so
guy
dumb.
who no-sells huge moves and
They like
bulldogs
did
onto a
bit, and,
toolbox.
Yeah, like because they're waiting.
lies
Like, Jamie's on the top of
and
it. Like,
waits.
oh wait, I can go on top of the cage.
Right.
And it's just like they didn't even try to like do something else to keep Fatu down. They just let him lie there until he took the move.
So Jimmy off the cage splashes Fatu through the table. So now Solo Sikoa is the only one standing, and he's staggering around. Roman gives him a chance to acknowledge him, I think.
Which I did kind of like that. Like he's still family, so Roman's still like willing to take
And
him
Solo's
back.
still defiant and goes for another Samoan spike, but takes a signature from everybody.
It was like what super kick, double super kick, Kaluva kick, not kicks, GTS spear.
Yep.
Match over.
Culminates in a spear. Roman pins him, and they pick up the win in 41 minutes.
Which you didn't pick, so eat nuts.
And then Punk and Roman shake hands, but kind of stare at each other afterwards still. So,
I did not think, I'll say for this show, that Nakamura would be the one to disrupt my perfect game.
right. Fatu was for sure a highlight for me.
Fatu is the highlight.
I don't watch SmackDown, so I haven't seen a ton of him in WWE, and every time I'm super impressed with him. He was the only notable thing, I think, before the match officially started. I hate the match itself was pretty good. I didn't think super memorable for me, right? Too bad. The most memorable thing is probably Bronson Reed breaking his ankle, right? That's the thing we'll remember, and that's really too bad because you were talking about it too. He's on like a push of a lifetime right now
Yeah.
with WWE.
So
So
I think it's really
I've
bad
really,
timing
I've
for
really
him.
enjoyed him lately watching Raw.
Yeah.
So too bad for him. And a lot of them laying the groundwork for a Punk Roman program. Maybe with one of them as champion. I feel like Punk's going to win at some point.
If Punk beats Gunther for the title, so help me God.
I don't feel like that's impossible.
We need to wait long enough for Dragunov to come back.
What's our over-under accurate on this one?
It's 4.25
Under.
for Meltzer, and then 8.12 for Cage Match.
Under. I went
Hey.
3.5.
I guess if I'm being nice, I go 3.5 because like
Fatu was enough for me. Like he was super cool.
Fatu's good. I thought Usos were actually like better when they're together.
Yeah.
Um,
It was fine.
Yeah.
And some of the Roman Punk stuff, like I get it. I felt
just
like it
don't
was
care.
a bit too
and
much.
War Games
but-
doesn't hit for me ever since it left NXT.
So I thought an average show. Triple threat, definitely match of the night. Opener, mostly a disaster. Title match was okay. And the final two matches were good, not great. So I went with my gut, and then I double checked by doing the math, right? Like adding up my total and finding the average. It was a C show both ways.
Yeah, I agree.
So nothing spectacular, but
Main roster never is.
the triple threat, I would actually recommend people watch. It was a really fun match, like a 4-star match for me. Everything else was fine.